Welcome to the Backyard Professor Esoteric Studies. Today we're going to share one of the most incredible connections throughout all of the mythologies and the stories that there is. And it's really going to explain to us a lot about what we read in scripture, as well as in literature, as well as in mythology, as well as in history. And I've been studying this for years, and it's very nice on a nice fall afternoon to be able to bring this together for you finally. I've been working on this for a very long time, and I'm grateful to be able to do this with you. I'm grateful for my audience and the interest shown in things that expand our minds and expand our souls and give us reasons to enjoy studying, to enjoy being alive, and to be able to improve our lives, if nothing else, psychologically, because this stuff has great meaning for us. So let me get started and share this with you. We are going to go really extensively into the literature today. The 12 gates of the sun in 1st Enoch and the 12 labors of Hercules are reflections of the same cosmic initiatory cycle seen through different mythic lenses. We're going to unpack this carefully. It's one of the most exciting symbolic correspondences in all of comparative mythology. When we get into the book of Enoch, we get into the 12 solar gates. In 1 Enoch, the patriarch is guided by Uriel through the 12 gates of the sun. It says there are 6 of them to the east and 6 of them to the west. Each gate corresponds to one of the zodiacal constellations through which the sun travels in its annual circuit. This is not astronomy for curiosity's sake, it's ritual cosmology. Passing through the 12 gates is a solar initiation. It is a pilgrimage through the stations of light, marking the balance of the solstices and the equinoxes, the architecture of sacred time. Enoch's journey mirrors the soul's cosmic pilgrimage of our lives. Descent into matter at the winter solstice, rebirth of light at spring, ascent toward the summer zenith, and return through autumn toward purification. He becomes symbolically the Son of Righteousness, the Sun, who is traversing the heavens. Hercules is the sun as the hero. Heracles in Greek, we call him Hercules. He is the solar hero par excellence. From ancient times, mythographers like the Stoics and later the Neoplatonists recognized that Hercules' 12 labors correspond to the 12 signs of the Zodiac, the same 12 gates through which Enoch's sun passes, and this is the Greek area. Each labor enacts a solar confrontation with the cosmic power, a gate guarded by a beast or a challenge of matter. As the sun conquers the darkness of each month, so Hercules conquers each monster. So the labor of Hercules in Aries the ram is Cernaean, the hind, the horned animal. This represents the sunrise, the renewal of the vital force. Taurus the bull is the capture of the Cretan bull as one of his labors. This is the power of fertility mastered. His next labor is slaying of the many-headed Hydra. This is in Gemini, the twins. This is overcoming duality and multiplicity. The next labor is with the Hydra's crab ally. The crab equals retrograde motion. This happens in Cancer, the crab. This is a triumph over the regression of light. Then he conquers the Nemean lion in Leo. This is the blazing power of midsummer, the strength of the sun. Next, we have the cleansing of the Augean stables. This occurs in Virgo. This is the purification harvest, and discernment that he goes through. Then he captures the girdle of Hippolyta. This happens in Scorpio. This is the conquest of desire and death. Then he captures the mares of Diomedes. This is done in Sagittarius the Archer. This is the direction of divine will. The aim of the spirit is what he's going through here. In Capricorn, the goatfish, he captures the Ermanthian boar. This is the midwinter struggle. This is a regeneration through endurance. And then finally, his last labor is bringing back the cattle of Geryon. This is done in Aquarius, the water bearer. This is the liberation of the waters and a service to humanity. Each one of these symbolic meanings of solar eschatology that Hercules labors brings about shows the power of this myth. Oh, and then finally in Pisces, the fish, we can't forget his descent to Hades, to Cerberus. And the symbolic meaning here is the return through the underworld. This is Hercules' apotheosis. And then, of course, when the hero completes the circuit, he dies and he ascends, exactly as the sun dies at winter solstice to be reborn. Enoch, likewise, is taken up at the end of his own celestial tour, and he was not, for God took him. The mythic structure here is the hero is the cosmic sun. Both of Enoch and Hercules, they embody this same archetype, the initiated sun, and it travels through trials, gates, 12 of them to be exact, in order to reach divinity. In esoteric language, we have the soul and the cosmos are reflected one another. Soul over here, cosmos over here, and they are realizing that they are not separate, but that they are one thing. Now, Macrobius, in his commentary on the dream of Scipio, he explicitly says that the soul descends through the planetary spheres. The purpose of this descent through the spheres is to take on their qualities before we're born, and then we ascend back through these spheres after death, and we are purified exactly like the sun does through the zodiac. So they are directly tying life to the cosmos. Iamblichus adds the divine names and the symbols that allow sympathetic alignment with each sphere, and the keys and the seals that he talks about open Enoch's gate is found in Iamblichus. So the labor of Hercules dramatizes the cosmic process of purification and ascent, and one Enoch encodes astronomically the same principle. Enoch's journey is guided by Uriel, the angel of the luminaries. Hercules' journey is guided by Athena, who is wisdom and divine insight. Enoch's journey through the 12 solar gates is the zodiac. Hercules' 12 labors is the zodiac. Enoch records cosmic law in heavenly tablets. Hercules institutes cosmic order by defeating the chaos beasts. Enoch is taken up to become Metatron, the lesser Yahweh. Hercules ascends to Olympus and becomes immortal among the gods. The man Enoch actually does become light, and Hercules, he becomes divine fire. So both culminate in transfiguration. The human turned radiant. That's what we're looking at. This is the mystery of the robe of glory, the garment of light, the celestial vesture of resurrection. So as the sun, having passed all 12 gates, shines in full power, so the perfected soul wears the complete zodiacal robe, every virtue integrated, every gate traversed. This is the theme of the books of 1st and 2nd Jehu and the Pistis Sophia in the Gnostic materials. They give you certain signs, seals, keys, and symbols to give to the guardians of each of the planetary gates as you ascend, and you will pass them on to go into the sun. The ancients encoded the same universal truth. The cosmos is not merely above us, it is within us. And this was the whole principle of their initiation, is to get us. We must look outward, but by looking outward as we go through the initiations and as we learn about how the cosmos is structured and our place in it and how to navigate the cosmos, we end up, from looking out, we end up looking within. Each zodiacal sign, each gate, it corresponds to a moral or a spiritual trial in us. That's what this is all about. When the initiates, say Enoch or Hercules or whatever, when they pass through all 12 through knowledge and courage and humility and compassion and discipline and illumination, this is when our own solar self awakens within us. The gate of heaven is then opened from within us. Jesus said in Luke, the kingdom of God is within you. We don't have to look out there. It's right here with us. That's a very important key of what the mysteries were trying to get us to understand. They are the same drama, Enoch's 12 gates and Hercules' 12 labors. The soul as sun, tested through the circle of existence, purified by ordeal, and finally enthroned as light. And that right there is the entire impact, beauty, power, and awe of J.R.R. Tolkien's materials from the story side of this. It's all involved in the same thing for us. When we turn to the Bible, we run into this again in a most unusual place with Samson. Shimshon in Hebrew, from Shemesh, the sun. This is the Israelite form of the solar hero myth. Now, I know that there are some people who say, well, this can't be scripture because it's just myth. And that is to completely misunderstand the power and beauty of this myth in the scripture. It is beautifully true. When you set him alongside of Enoch and Hercules, the pattern becomes astonishingly clear. Let's walk through it step by step. We'll go mythologically, symbolically, and esoterically to get a look at this. Samson is the sun man. The very name Shimshon in Hebrew derives from the word Shemesh for sun, and it's the solar one or the sunny man. So his birth is heralded by an angel, his strength is divine, and his power waxes and wanes like the light of day. It's a mythic signature of solar deities across the world. His story in Judges 13 through 16 follows the sun's full cycle. He is born miraculously from a barren womb. That would represent the dawn. He is empowered by divine light. That would represent the zenith of the sun. He's diminished through betrayal and blindness. That's the setting sun. And finally, he's triumphant through death. That destroys darkness. This is the midnight to dawn resurrection. This is what the ancient Egyptians called the duat. And the solar boat, when it went down after the sunset, it went under the underworld through 12 gates of the duat and came back and was resurrected again. It is the same principle the ancient world over. It's cosmic allegory clothed in epic. So we could say that Samson is the Hebrew Hercules. And we would not be wrong. In the 19th century, scholars Gressman, Fraser, Joseph Campbell have noted that Samson is a Semitic Hercules. His divine birth prophecy is given by an angel, and he has a Nazarite vow, right? Well, Hercules, Zeus impregnates Alcime, and it's a divine destiny. And with the Enoch motif, Enoch chosen by God to walk with him. The extraordinary strength. Samson tears a lion and he slays Philistines. Hercules strangles the Nemean lion and conquers beasts. Enoch's solar power over the lions is a fiery dominion. That's why they roar in the wilderness. There's a conflict with darkness. With Samson, he battles Philistines, which are representative of the night forces, right? In Hercules, he slays monsters who are representing the chaos powers. He is defeating chaos. And with Enoch, he resists the Watcher's corruption. Then with the loss of power, Samson's hair is cut. That is, the sun is eclipsed. The Heracles is temporarily enslaved by Omphale, the feminine inversion. And then the sun's decline and the soul's descent in Enoch. Then there's a blinding and an imprisonment. Samson's eyes are put up and he's grinding at the mill. In Hercules, he's enslaved before release. And with Enoch, darkness before renewal. There is a final victory through death. He destroys the temple of Dagon, Samson does, and he dies with his enemies. Hercules is immortalized after suffering, and Enoch is taken up and he is transfigured into light. Both Samson and Hercules enact the solar ordeal. Death through descent into darkness, followed by renewal of divine strength. Samson is the solar arc from dawn all the way through the day down to dusk. If we chart Samson's life like the daily sun, the dawn is the angelic annunciation and the Nazarite consecration. This is the birth of divine light in matter, in other words. The rising sun is his strength. He slays lions and he has a marriage feast. This is the ascent of vitality, the union of spirit and body. He is given at the zenith many riddles and he triumphs, but he's very arrogant. This is the peak brilliance of the sun at the zenith. This is solar pride. Then he's seduced by Delilah and his hair is cut. This is the sun's decline. This is the waning of light and eclipse by sensuality. Then he goes into blindness. His eyes are put out and he's grinding in prison. This represents the night. This in Enoch is the descent into chaos and the soul in exile. And then finally, he pulls down Dagon's pillars, and this is dawn reborn. Light destroys darkness through sacrifice. Resurrection principle. It's all right there in this myth. This is pure mythic astronomy. That's what we're seeing here. It's the same story told by Enoch's 12 solar gates and Hercules' 12 labors. It's condensed into a daily cycle instead of a yearly cycle, but it is the same thing. Very interesting. Now his hair can represent the solar rays of the sun because that's why his strength is in his hair. That's his secret. They represent rays of light. So when Delilah, representing night or the fading of the sun, cuts his hair, his solar corona is shorn. The Nazarite vow says no razor, no wine, and he's consecrated from birth. This represents the unbroken channel of divine energy. However, when that channel is violated, as it was, the sun is darkened and the spirit is bound. That's what we read in this story. Yet in the end, as his hair grows back again, his light returns. His death that brings down the temple of Dagon. Now, Dagon is a fish god. That's kind of interesting. He's a symbol of the deep waters of chaos, see? And this is what he's overcoming by knocking down those pillars of the temple and dying with his enemies so that he might be reborn from the abyss. That is a striking parallel to Oannes, who emerges from the sea. And it's also a really good parallel to Enoch's ascent through the floodgates of the heavens. That's interesting. So we can find the solar gnostic framework that we've been building here with Samson, Hercules, and Enoch as well. There is a stage with the angelic birth prophecy. The cosmic correspondence is descent of spirit into matter. The esoteric meaning is the spark of divinity is within us. And isn't that what Luke said? Jesus is said to have taught the kingdom of God is within you. Men look around, but they do not see it. No, of course not, because it's not out there. The myths help us come to recognize that we are it. That's why they are truth. That's why they are spiritually uplifting and fulfilling. Same thing with the children's fairy tales, when you know what you're looking for. And I will do many videos on those. His vow of consecration is solar discipline. The idea is this is the purity that channels divine energy. And when you can channel divine energy, then you can perform miracles greater than Jesus did. Jesus even said that. He said, oh, you're impressed with these? You'll do greater than I am. Very interesting. The lion slaying, that can represent conquering our lower animal nature, right? Because we all know we have an animal nature. This is the heroic mastery of the passions. Don't let them rule us, we rule them. Then Delilah's betrayal is the fall into sensual illusion. This is the soul's identification with matter. We say, well, I mean, the physical, this is it. This is the reality. This body is who I am. This is the illusion that we all labor under, right? The myths are designed to open us up to be able to not only be aware of the transcendence, but recognize that that kingdom of God in transcendence is actually within us. That's the idea that they're trying to get us to grasp. This is why reading so many myths and cross-checking them is so very helpful, and it feels like you're eating and filling up with light. It's a glorious thing to do. So then when his hair is shorn and then he's made blind, well, this is the loss of gnosis, and this is the eclipse. What this is symbolized esoterically is the ignorance of the divine source. We are the transcendence unending. But don't look for it out there, because it can truly be found when we do as Socrates and Plato said at the academy. Know thyself. That's what that leads to. Know thyself. So this is remarkable. He's grinding in darkness. This is our existence under fate, right? This is the soul's bondage in material cycles. And then there's the destruction of Dagon's temple, which is basically representative of Samson's final illumination. And this is the liberation of spirit through self-sacrifice. You don't always say me, 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 me. You love others because they too are the infinite. They are you. If you harm others, all you're doing is harming yourself. Why would you want to do that? When you can get that type of open understanding to reality of what we and the other really is, it builds your life. So Samson's death is not a tragedy. That's the point. It's a cosmic renewal. It's the same mystery as the sun's rebirth on a daily basis and the initiate's ascension to be able to get into the solar cycle. That's the goal. We want to connect with the sun. How do you do that? Well, it's up there. We have to ascend to it. That's the basic crude idea. So the hidden gate, Samson and the temple pillars. Now, when he leans on the two pillars of Dagon, right? And this is a massive stone temple, but he does cave it in. And he brings these down. He performs what is called a ritual inversion of the Yanwacheli. That is the double gate of heaven. He's going to do a double inversion here. So when we talk about this esoterically, the architecture we're discussing is the twin pillars, Jachin and Boaz in Solomon's temple. What this represents is a dual current of energy, say solar and lunar, or mercy and severity, or active and passive. There's a dual current here that's involved with us, the two sides of the gate. When we can become aware of this type of symbolism and the meaning in the symbolism, his final act is to unite those opposites and collapse those poles so that they can rejoin heaven and earth through sacrifice. This is the symbolism in the story. He becomes, in that instance, the access to heaven himself. Blind, but he's illuminated. Interesting, isn't it? He's bound to the temple of Dagon, and yet when he collapses it, he's free. He's dying with his enemies, yet he is triumphant. The solar redeemer archetype in Hebrew form is what Samson is. So now we can put this into the great pattern with Enoch and Hercules and Samson. And it's amazing because all three of these are faces of the same sun, the divine intelligence that descends, it battles darkness, and it rises as perfected light. This is the idea. So in the deepest Hermetic sense, what these myths are saying is the solar light is in here in each person. That's what they're trying to tell us. Each of us is born radiant. We're bound by illusion. We're blinded by the world's Delilahs, but we're capable through suffering, virtue, and sacrifice of regaining our luminous crown. Samson's story, like Enoch's and Hercules, is a parable of inner resurrection. It reminds us that the true power is not the physical or the physical might, but it is alignment with the divine source. And even in our blindness, the hidden sun waits to rise again in us. That's the idea. So there is the name that is associated with the sun, with Enoch, Hercules, and Samson. The birth and calling are very similar. Their divine guide is always a divine. There's a phase, a theme phase. The Son of Man, the solar champion, passes through the cosmic moral tests. There's a 12-fold cycle, interestingly. There's a domination and dominion over beasts. There is a fall or an ordeal. There is a battle, as it were. There is a dark descent. There's a revelation and a renewal. There's a final act that divinizes Enoch, Hercules, and Samson. And there's the symbol of the axis, the pillar that unites heaven and earth. And the axis mundi itself is reborn in the hero himself. The spiritual message is that knowledge unites heaven and earth. Virtue harmonizes man and cosmos. Heaven and earth, purity and sacrifice that renew the light. The soul is the sun, and death is illumination. It's not the end. Death is not the end. It is the beginning of a cycle of light. Now, that's a message of hope. That's the interesting thing. And then they have a cosmic function, and then there's an outcome. And the outcome is, of course, all of them are becoming very radiant. They're either a solar or an angelic, or they're made a divine constellation, etc. And this is symbolizing that we return to our solar origin. So the hero's path is the sun's path, to descend into the world shadow, to wrestle with its beasts and illusions, and to rise again bearing the light of eternity. Enoch embodies gnosis. Hercules, that is the knowledge of the divine order. Hercules embodies arete, which is virtue or strength, and Samson embodies devotion and sacrifice. All three of these together is a magnificent group of a triadic solar pattern: mind, force, and heart. The complete spectrum of the awakened soul. Each begins human, then they become solar, and they end up as divine. Very interesting. So the 12 gates of labor or hours is the ascent through the zodiacal virtues. The 12 steps of initiation is the heavenly ladder, the Yanwa Cheli, the ladder of Jacob, etc. They call it by many names. It's the pole that the shaman climbs to get to heaven, etc. There's a blindness and descent to darkness, and then there's a regaining of the light, which is the resurrection. We re-enter the Holy of Holies. There's two pillars and a cosmic gate. This represents the union of opposites. Flesh and spirit become one. There's a reconciliation, etc. All three give us the same timeless mystery: the sun as God, ever-burning source of order. The sun as hero, descending to fight darkness. We see it every night at sunset. The sun as man, reborn through ordeal into light. We see that every sunrise. The myth, the temple, and the heart tell the same truth. The pillar of heaven, the axis mundi, the Yanwa Cheli, is not just in the sky. It's in the soul, and that is where we conquer the light. So now, and this is exactly tied in with another image that I talked about last Sunday in my live, or the Sunday before. And this is the oil brighter than light that Enoch was anointed with. Now, this is quite interesting how this comes into play, because this is the act of Enoch's transfiguration. This is when he begins, he's anointed with this oil as brighter than light. He's changed his clothes. Actually, the angel takes away his flesh and gives him solid light as his existence, and he is transfigured into a bright light being. And that's really important. He ascends through the 7 gates and the 7 heavens. The archangel Michael brings him. He says, anoint him with the rays that are brighter than the sun's rays. And then he becomes Metatron, the lesser Yahweh. He's given a new garment, which is a form of light, so his body is transfigured. He's given the oil, which is the essence of light, so his consciousness is transfigured. And then together they create the angel of the presence, a being both human and solar. Very interesting that it's the same thing. This is affecting ontological ignition of what we really are. Right now, we're just pretty dull flesh and bone. But this is not our ultimate destiny at all. This is what Enoch can teach us. We are a human lamp. We just have to learn how to tap into the electricity so that we too can glow. We're the cosmic wick. And remember, the oil that is brighter than light was not poured onto Enoch, but through him. That's a heck of an image, isn't it? The oil was poured through him. That is fascinating. The Spirit distilled into visibility. The cosmos itself was made radiant. And we have this chain of ascendants. It begins with Enmenderanki. It goes to Thoth, then Enoch, then Metatron, then Hermes, and Hermes Trismegistus. And this goes across from Mesopotamia to Egypt to Hebrew to the Hellenistic Greek traditions into a single archetype. This is amazing. The divine intermediary who bridges heaven and earth through wisdom and writing. This is the pattern. In the oldest stratum that we can find, the Sumerian Akkadian figure Enmedaranki is the seventh king of Sippar, is taken up by the gods, Shamash and Adad. He's shown the tablets of the heavens. He's given the arts of divination and priestly instruction. He's the prototype of the initiated man. He's transmitting cosmic law to humankind. And when this same mythic role crosses west, the Egyptians personify it into Thoth, who is the scribe of the gods. He is the reckoner of time. He is the measurer of the stars. And this is very Zohar, Jewish mystical of Adam Kadmon. He is the measurer of stars. That's fascinating. He's the master of hieroglyphs. He's the keeper of the balance, Ma'at. And both Enmedaraki and Thoth define civilization as cosmic literacy. That means they are taught, the people are taught about the cosmos because they are in it and a part of it. To read the patterns of heaven in the language of symbols. So the Hebrew transformation gave us this archetype as Enoch, right? The seventh patriarch who walked with God. Like Enmedaranki, he is assumed into heaven. He receives celestial books. He becomes a teacher of calendars and measure and sacred wisdom. In later Macabre mysticism, he's further exalted as Metatron, the lesser Yahweh. He's actually enthroned next to the divine throne where the great glory sits. And this became the famous problem in early Christianity and Judaism of the second power in heaven. There's two powers in heaven. When one of the rabbis had his ascent and he went and looked in heaven, he saw two thrones and he saw two deities on those two thrones. And he said, oh my gosh, there's a second power in heaven. And that caused pure chaos and mayhem when he came back and taught that. That'd make a great video to talk about. That's a huge problem in Judaism and early Christianity. So anyway, this, as it spread, as the news spread about the Enochic archetype and his ascent to heaven and what happened to him, this eventually found its way into Greek mythology, and we end up with Hermes Trismegistus, the Hellenized Thoth. Now, he's the revealer of the Hermetic sciences, and he is the messenger between the worlds as well. Taken together, these figures trace an unbroken lineage of the cosmic mediator, the human intellect divinized through knowledge of the heavens and writing and ascension and sacred number. Each represents the idea that revelation is not a one-time miracle, but it is an eternal correspondence between heaven and earth. And it's connected by an axis mundi. And we need to get on that axis mundi and ascend to heaven. And is this not the subject of the children's story, Jack and the Beanstalk? It is, amazingly. And Jack climbs that beanstalk. And when he gets to the height, what does he get? The goose, the golden egg. He brings back the treasures of knowledge, and then he chops down the beanstalk because that closes the initiation. That's a successful initiation. They put that right in the children's story. This is amazing. As above, so below. The mind of God associated with the above and the below. We are not left out here. This is the illuminated mind of mankind that is exalted as well. Myth and history and esoteric insight, all of this locks perfectly into place with this heavenly mediator, initiate guide who is teaching us how to do it ourselves. This is the chain of light from Enmeteronchi through Enoch, Hercules, Samson to Hermes Trismegistus. This is one of the great through lines of human wisdom right here. And we are so blessed to have it to study. So I've gone through that. And then these five, among the many figures, form the chain of the scribes. It is a continuous myth of humanity's upward vocation. Through them, the act of writing becomes sacrament. Knowledge is an initiation, and thought is a form of prayer. Their legacy reminds us that every mind capable of wonder is also standing at the threshold of an enlightening revelation. And this is the good news. The pen poised, the heavens waiting to be read. And now that the gates of heaven, the Zodiac, the 12 gates that Enmeteronchi, Thoth, Enoch, Samson, Hercules have traversed through, we now find in King Arthur and his round table, which is also a remarkable tie-in coming down through the ages after Enoch and Hermes Trismegistus. The line does not break. We still find it advancing and expanding. This is the same reflection of the same ancient cosmological pattern. Enoch's 12 gates of the sun, Hercules' 12 labors, the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 months and zodiacal signs, the 12 disciples of Christ, the 12 imams in Islamic tradition, the 12 stones in the high priest's breastplate. 12 in these instances are not just a number. This is cosmic number. This is the number of completeness in the cycle of space and time. This belongs to how the ancient peoples were mapping the sky, the year, the soul, and the throne of divine order all at once. They were all inclusive, including us, the people. So Arthur's round table would represent the dome of the sky. This is how this story can help us. This is not just about political equality, not at all. It is a cosmic symbol. The circular table, no head, no tail. It is the circle of the heavens. It is unity of all directions. This is the celestial sphere, the zodiacal wheel. Arthur at the center represents the pole star, again, that axis mundi, the still point around which the heavens revolve. Right? And this is the exact same thing as Enoch's heavenly throne, or of the Teli in the Sefer Yetzirah, which I have also spoken of, the pillar going to the North Pole, and it's covered by the dragon, the Teli. The 12 Knights of the Round Table. Again, that number 12 is the 12 constellations, zodiac signs, the 12 months of the sun's journey. This is Hercules' labor, Enoch's gates. This is Christ's apostles. This is Arthur's 12 Knights. This is the same principles. The empty seat at the table, the siege perilous. This is the seat of the Redeemer. This is the Grail Knight. This is the divine hero's seat. The 13th, this transcends the circle. This is like Christ beyond the 12, or this is the pole star beyond the zodiac. But the number symbolism is all here in these stories. Just as the sun travels through 12 stations of the year, or as the soul in Enoch's vision moves through 12 gates of light, so Arthur sits like the unmoving pole star, and his knights disposed around him like the constellations at the round table. This is star mythology turned into chivalry. That's what we're seeing here. And why does 12 appear everywhere? Because ancient people watched the sky. What did they see? They saw the sun moves through 12 major star houses, the zodiac. That's why we have 12 months. They saw the moon cycles, roughly 12 in 1 year. The heavens divide naturally into 12 sectors. If God rules the world, his court must mirror the heavens, and therefore this leads to the theme of heavenly thrones must be 12-fold as well. So what we have here is a continuation, as it were, or a conglomeration of myth and history and legends that imitate the heavens here on earth. This is why the number 12. So heaven is mimicked, mirrored in our mythology. When we're studying our myths and these symbolisms, we are learning about the heavens and how to get there by looking within. It's pretty amazing. Arthur, Christ, and Enoch. Again, the same pattern. Christ and the 12 disciples, a spiritual zodiac around the Son of Righteousness. Arthur and the 12 Knights, the earthly zodiac around the King of Light, bringing order to chaos. Enoch at the throne with the 12 gates of the sun. This is the cosmic time wheel around the pole of glory. This is mythic astronomy that we're seeing in these stories, not because it's fake, but because it recognizes that the sky is sacred text, and they brought it down to share with the people. Arthurian myth, like Enoch and Hercules, is part of a perennial pattern of sky lore, sacred kingship, and the soul's journey through the circle of time. It's toward the one still point beyond it. That's the goal. That's what these myths are showing us. In the many symbolic and esoteric reading of the Arthurian legend, the quest for the Holy Grail. Now, this is the most famous thing about Arthur's Knights, is this quest for the Holy Grail. It's understood to mirror the sun, or the soul's journey through the zodiac. Again, just like Hercules' 12 labors or Enoch's journey through the 12 heavenly gates, we're right back to this again. And this is a critical difference. This is why the stories of King Arthur are so fascinating and interesting and important to read, as are the ancient stories of Enmeteronki, Enoch, Thoth, Hercules, Samson, etc., because now we have a very important comparison contrast that we must be aware of with the knights and the search for the Holy Grail. And here it is. Hercules conquers each sign through strength. The Grail Knights must first purify themselves spiritually as they pass through each gate or zodiacal trial. There's been a shift, and it's a very important one. The Grail quest is the zodiacal ascent of the soul. The Grail isn't just a cup. It symbolizes the still point at the center of the cosmos. The Holy Grail is the still point at the center of the cosmos. That's why they had to go search for it. You find that still point and you have eternal life. The pole star, the tele of the Sefer Yetzirah in Jewish mysticism, the Yanwa Cheli in medieval Christian symbolism. It's all the same thing. The Holy Grail. Now it's labeled the Holy Grail. To reach it, a knight must do what the sun does each year. And what is that? We have to travel through 12 stations of the Zodiac. We have to die at the winter solstice, which is in Capricorn. We have to be reborn at the spring equinox, which is Aries. We have to achieve spiritual illumination at the fixed summer star, which is Leo, the pole star, and the Grail. So, yeah. The quest mirrors the same cosmic myth structure as Hercules, Enoch, even Gilgamesh gets in on this, but now it's in a Christian mystical form as well with Arthur and the Holy Grail. This is magnificent. This is what does this mean for the knights? The Grail knights pass through inner versions of the Zodiac. The Zodiac isn't out there that they have to pass through. It's in here. And you have to find your virtues in here and conquer your vices in here. And that's where the search for the Holy Grail goes, because yes, there is a still point in the heavens and you want to find it. But that axis mundi that goes to the heavens also connects in you. And you have to find a way to connect to it in here. That's what the mysteries are all about. So the Grail Knight's inner trial is courage versus impulsiveness. He does that going through Aries the ram. The first step on the journey is leaving home. You have to leave Camelot. You have to leave your comfortable kind of thinking and beliefs in order to find the truth. This is what is being symbolized here. In Taurus the bull, you have the inner trial of desire and material attachment. The knight is tempted by comfort or land or love, etc. In Gemini, the twins, there is a division of mind versus unity. It's doubt versus faith. There's two minds in one person. In Cancer the crab, you return to the old habits versus your own spiritual progress. So we have to learn through trial and error that we want to keep learning and progressing. The knight is tempted to turn back is the parallel. Then in Leo the lion, we have pride versus humility. The major trial, many knights fail here with the pride versus humility. Many knights. Amazingly enough, it is exactly this issue that J.R.R. Tolkien wrote his entire universe into existence, because this is the crux of Galadriel, of Gandalf, of Frodo, of all of them, Aragorn, all of them. It's an astonishing thing how Tolkien understood these themes. In Virgo, the knights have purity, chastity, and inner refinement. That's their trial. And this is the Galahad and Percival pass. And then in Libra, you have judgment, justice, balance. You choose mercy over violence, which is what Frodo did with Gollum. And because he had pity and mercy more than once, his mission ended up being able to destroy that ring. Had he chosen severity or judgment and killed Gollum, the whole quest would have failed. Isn't that remarkable? Tolkien, once again, is extremely relevant here. Now, back to the knights. In Scorpio, the scorpion, their trial is betrayal and lust and self-destruction. Lancelot and Guinevere's affair is the issue here. Then in Sagittarius, this is the direct aim of the soul toward God. This is the true knight's focused arrow. And in Capricorn, you have descent, death, and grief is the trial, the dark night of the soul for the knight. And then in Aquarius, the water bearer, we have the illumination and the baptism and the vision. This is where the Grail castle appears. And then in Pisces, the fish, we have compassion and self-sacrifice. This is the union with the Christic mystery. And that in a 12-step zodiacal nutshell is the whole mystery of the search for the Holy Grail of the knights, because it's not meant for them alone. It is designed to, once we read about their various vicissitudes in their successes and their failures and their deaths and their lives, we integrate this mere story into our own souls, and we work on these aspects of ourselves. Why do they fail? Because unlike Hercules, the Grail trial isn't about physical conquest. It is inner transformation. Gawain fails because he never lets go of violence and pride. Therefore, he can't succeed. There's a lesson in that. Galadriel in Tolkien's Lord of the Rings refused the ring when Frodo offered it to her, and it would have given her everything she had hoped for over 6,000 years. But she refused the power, and that's what redeemed her. It's a beautiful thing we're seeing here. Lancelot comes the closest, but he fails because of earthly love. Now, Guinevere, right? We all know the story. He's torn between two worlds. Only 3 knights complete the full zodiacal cycle: Galahad, Percival, and Bors. And only Galahad enters the Grail, which is the center beyond the wheel. He finds the still point in the cosmos, which is in him as well as in all of us. So this perfectly reflects the Christian Platonic cosmology. Many souls circle the wheel of time, that's the zodiac. Few reach the still center, the Holy Grail, right? So what does it actually mean? The Grail quest isn't about traveling or fighting or conquering. It's about becoming aligned with the music of the spheres. It's the same cosmic harmony that we explored in Shakespeare. So every knight represents the soul, okay? So Camelot represents the ordered, imperfect world, all right? So the forest represents the unconscious, the unknown, the zodiacal labyrinth, right? The Grail represents the axis mundi, the pole, the heart of God. And the quest itself for the Grail, that's the tuning of our souls to heaven's harmony. This is the idea. Hercules conquered the zodiac from the outside. The Grail Knight must conquer it from the inside. And here's the hint. None of us are Hercules. So we have to take the Grail knight's position. The round table is Arthurian, not in Shakespeare's The Tempest. In The Tempest, Shakespeare doesn't stage a physical round table, but he does do something very interesting. He does flood the play with circular motifs. He's got magic rings and the dance in the mask, and Prospero's magic circle, and it's a world that ends in retuning. So this circular architecture that Shakespeare developed in this play is the counterpart to the round table, and we can line this up with Enoch's 12 solar gates and the book of Revelation's zodiacal 12. Yes, even the book of Revelation in the New Testament gets in on this. It's really remarkable. So the template, of course, is Enoch's 12 solar gates, and Uriel takes him there. And what this does is it synchronizes heavenly motion with human festival and the moral order. It's a festal time. And that's why he has to be a calendar prophet, because he's got to align the Earth's celebrations with the cosmos. That's why the calendar becomes important. Esoterically, we're passing the 12 gates. We have an initiatory completeness. The soul itself, us, we, inside, we learn the measures of light and time, and the gate opens when we can fit the measures of the gate, right? When we can harmonize with it. So it's a threshold that we have to overcome. So the Revelations 12, the biblical zodiac, the New Jerusalem, and it does this through the New Jerusalem, the 12 gates. There is 3 on each side. See, Jerusalem, the city, is a great big square, and there are 3 gates on each side of the walls, on each wall, so that there's 12 total gates, which represents the 12 tribes of Israel. And then they have the 12 foundation stones. The city itself is a cube. So the Holy of Holies is geometry. These measures are perfect. It's a mathematical harmony made into architecture. The woman clothed with the sun wears what? You remember what she wears? She's wearing this crown with 12 stars, right? And the zodiac glorified around the solar mother of the messianic child. So, and then of course you have the 24 elders. That's 12 times 2. It's a double 12. The solar year by months and the lunar year by pairs. You could also say, well, yeah, this is Israel and the church, if that's how you wanted to look at it, right? So the tree of life, we are told in Revelation, yields 12 fruits. The redeemed calendar of Eden, that is, sacred time is restored. And so that's the way to read these symbols. So Revelation baptizes the zodiacal logic into temple eschatology. The old 12 gates of the sun become the final 12 gates of the city of God, the New Jerusalem. You see how that works? It's been transferred. Same symbolism, though, but now we're in a different culture. The cosmology is not discarded. It is fulfilled. Arthur's round table in the Grail is the chivalric zodiac. The round table is the sky dome in wood. There's no head, there's no tail. It is just represents the celestial sphere. There is a central king at the table, Arthur. This represents the polar axis, right? And the ring of 12 primary knights is the zodiacal belt. The Grail quest mirrors the zodiacal cycle inwardly, and that's because each knight has to pass a moral test. Of course, this corresponds to a sign of the zodiac, right? Hercules' conquest is turned into a Galahad purity party. It's the same wheel. It's just interiorized inside the knights. The siege perilous, the dangerous empty seat, that's the 13th beyond the 12th. That is the pole center that only the truly pure can occupy, right? This is the pole star beyond the zodiac, or this is the lamb enthroned beyond the 24 elders. This is how Revelation gives us this symbolism. So that's interesting too. The Arthurian round enacts the civilization of the sky. The king is the axis mundi. The knights are the constellations. The Grail is the still point. That's the way we can look at this. When we turn to Shakespeare, we find much of the same imagery in The Tempest. Here we see the circle is retuned. Shakespeare doesn't put a round table on stage, but there is a ritual circle that does the same cosmological work. Prospero's magical circle and his repeated rings of music, of maskers, of forgiveness are theatrical glyphs of the cosmic round. The mask with Iris and Sirius and Juno functions like a zodiacal interlude. There are seasons, fertility, ordered time, the festival calendar restored. This is Enoch's calendar in poetic dress. It's the same thing. Ariel songs literally retune souls. So in Shakespeare, we see that music is the theurgical harmony. Boethius's music mundana, the turned drama. Prospero's renunciation, that is, the breaking the staff and the drowning of the books, this closes the outer wheel. And what happens now, because he closed the outer wheel, the inner gate can open. The rarer action is in virtue than in vengeance, he says. And that's the esoteric key that opens the gate of heaven. Virtue, not vengeance, right? So the Tempest stages the passage from discord, and that's the tempest. There's disharmony. Nothing is working together. There's discord. The weather sucks. The ship is in trouble, etc., right? This is how he set up the play. Well, this closes the outer wheel so that the inner gate can open, and that's the esoteric key. The Grail logic is the same as perfection and purification. You go from discord to chord in the Tempest. You see that? You go from right-timed gates, the revelation logic of a city remeasured into harmony. It's all the same stuff. The one pattern in 4 registers is what's happening. Cosmic Enoch goes to Temple City in Revelation. This goes to the chivalric theatrical in Arthur and Shakespeare. The 12-fold gates, the 12 foundations, the 12 crowned stars, the 12 knights of the zodiac in the court, and the 12 rings, circles, mask of seasons and cyclical music in Shakespeare. In The Tempest. That is absolutely beautiful how that's portrayed. Now we get to the tetramorph. And what the tetramorph is, visualize a circle and there's a cross in that circle. That's called a tetramorph. And both the book of Revelation and the older prophetic visions of Ezekiel, they place 4 living creatures, a lion, an ox, a man, and an eagle at the throne. They're often read as the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac. Leo, Taurus, Aquarius is the man, and the eagle is Scorpio in the high form. This forms a cross that braces the wheel. So this is the cosmic stabilizer. Very interesting symbolism involved with this. In Enoch, these are the hinge points anchoring the sun's course, the solstices and the equinoxes. In the book of Revelation, they support the throne. In other words, what we have is cosmic stability under judgment. In the Arthurian iconography, they surface as four cardinal virtues, four perilous thresholds in the quest for the Holy Grail. In The Tempest of Shakespeare, the four recur as four elements tamed. Air is Ariel, earth is Caliban, water, sea, magic, fire, lightning. The world rebraced so the circle can sing again. Well, even in Tolkien's work, the Shire in The Lord of the Rings was divided into four quarters. And this is because four always symbolizes stability and world order. It's Earth, it's north, south, east, west, and the seasons, right? So there's incarnation and materiality, the shaping of the physical world out of the music, the Ainulindale of Tolkien. The Hobbit reality versus the high romance. You have grounded four hobbits counterbalancing the transcendent 379 patterns of elves, dwarves, and men. The elves receive 3 rings, the dwarves receive 7 rings, and the men receive 9 rings. The 4 hobbits ground them. Tolkien is never arithmetically random at all. 4 is the number of Arda made real. The Shire's 4 farthings is not provincial, it is cosmological. Tolkien begins the epic in cosmic harmony, 4, before breaking it through the one ring, the disruptor of balance. The Shire's division into north and south, east and west farthing is not just geographic. It is a mythic orientation. It aligns Hobbit life with the 4 directions of the world, the 4 winds, the 4 seasons. It subtly places the Hobbits into a cosmological harmony, even though they're not conscious of it. Now, the Holy Grail tradition contains powerful fourfold symbolism as well. And this 4 structure often mirrors the exact same cosmological and sacred template that we see in Tolkien's world. The Shire's 4 farthings, the 4 ages, the 4 hobbits. In Grail lore, 4 is everywhere just beneath the surface, and it represents wholeness and the world made sacred and the union of spirit and matter. And there's the major symbolism, the Grail element. You have the 4 hallows, the Celtic and the Arthurian. It's a fourfold structure. The Grail is the cup. You have the spear, the sword, and the stone, or the plate. These are the 4 elements: water, fire, air, earth, and they are the prototypes of the tarot suits: the cup, the wand, the sword, and the pentacle. So you have the 4 evangelists in Christianized Grail lore: Matthew the man, Mark the lion, Luke the ox, John the eagle. And in the Grail manuscripts, especially the Questa del Saint Graal, the Grail table is said to reflect the 4 evangelists, the 4 corners of the gospel world. There are 4 seats at the round table of mystery: King Arthur, the Siege Perilous for the Grail King, and 2 other symbolic seats that are aligned to north, south, east, west. Galahad is purity. And then you have the round table mirroring the cosmos, but the empty, forbidden 4th seat is the Grail seat of destiny. See, in some versions, 4 knights begin the quest, only one of them achieves it. They form a fourfold moral compass, the 4 quarters of the Grail castle. It's often seen with 4 towers or 4 gates. It's facing the world's directions, like Camelot, Jerusalem, or Minas Tirith in Tolkien. This is the symbol of the Grail as the center of the world. the axis mundi bounded by 4 directions. You have the 4 wounds or the mysteries of Christ's passion. This is connected in mystical Grail texts, hands, feet, and side. They're often explicitly linked to healing the 4 illnesses of the world. And then there's the 4 stages of the Grail quest, according to Cretin de Troyes and Wolfram von Eschenbach. This is separation that leads to trial, that leads to revelation, that leads to return. And this exactly mirrors Joseph Campbell's hero quest, the 4 seasons and the 4 elements. This is really interesting. So the Grail is the center of a 4-fold world also. It's always at the center. It's like the mountaintop or Jerusalem, right? Around it, the world is structured into 4 directions, an earthly paradise awaiting restoration. This is the same cosmological symbolism that Tolkien uses. The Grail lies in the wasteland, awaiting a hero to restore the 4 quarters of the kingdom. Well, in Tolkien, the king's illness is where the realm becomes waste, and Frodo has to restore the Shire to all 4 farthings after scouring. There are 4 hollows: cup, lance, sword, dish, stone. There are 3 elven rings plus 1 makes 4 bearers of the fellowship: Galadriel, Elrond, Gandalf, and Frodo. Arthur's 4-fold Britain, north, south, east, west kingdoms in the Grail myth is the Grail feast seated at 4 cardinal tables. In Tolkien, we have the 4 realms of Arnor. We have the 4 Dunedain havens. We have the 4 hobbits as world-centering companions. In fact, the 4 roads meeting in Bree is the center of the Middle-earth maps. So why is this 4 so important? I'll tell you why. In Christian mysticism, is that sun goofing you up? I hope not. Boy, I hope it hasn't been. Oh, I'm sorry. Dang it, it's probably been tough to see, hasn't it? I'm reading this so I can't see myself. I apologize if it's been goofing you up. In Christian mysticism, 3 represents heaven and 4 represents the earth creation, right? So 3 and 4 is 7, and yet 3 times 4 is 12, the sacred governance. Now 3 and 4 is 7 is about completion, but 3 times 4 equals 12 is about sacred governance. So the Grail is exactly where heaven and earth meet. That's the substance of God held in a material cup. Just as Tolkien's Middle Earth is where the 3 elves meets the world of the 4 hobbits. So there is a powerful lineage of symbolism at work here, where the material cosmos, the sacred vision, and the human psyche converge in the number 4, the 4 Grail Shire pattern. Through Plato's Timaeus is the structure of the cosmos. We remember Ezekiel's 4 living creatures, the theophany and the divine throne vision. We have Jung's quaternity archetype here, the structure of the psyche and the wholeness. And from there, we can get back to Tolkien and the Grail tradition with an entirely new depth. So Plato's Timaeus, the world is built on 4. The demiurge crafts the visible cosmos using 4 elements: fire, air, water, earth, which is represented as an element, as an elemental shape, the tetrahedron, the octahedron, the icosahedron, and the cube. And the way they're oriented is the tetrahedron points upward, it's radiant. There's movement with the octahedron. There's a flowing, acceptable life and stability with the icosahedron and the cube. And this is all about life, light, change, breath, soul, emotion, body, and form. So this is how the world's soul was built by God. It's a mathematically structured by a 1, 2, 3, 4 tetractys of the Pythagoreans. And what this does is it produces harmony, that is music, cosmos, and time. The world is therefore a living creature with soul, is how Plato saw it. It's cruciform in structure and it's extended in four directions. That's how he described it in the Timaeus. In Ezekiel's four living creatures, what we have here is a man, a lion, an ox, and a bull, or an eagle that represents intelligence, royal power, which is fire, the lion. The ox is strength and sacrifice, representing earth, and the eagle is vision, water, and heaven. And this is the gospel. The later interpretation is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So these four are the wheels within wheels full of eyes. What they're describing here is a living Merkava, a chariot, supporting the divine throne, is what they're describing here. The cube-like structure and the four wings or faces make them a living symbol of ordered creation. That is, this is the divine presence at the center of space time. And this is later carried into the Christian art as the tetramorph. In the medieval cathedrals, it's the four gospel pillars, how they built the very architecture of their churches. And then in the Arthurian Grail halls, there are four orientations as well. So in Jung's quaternity, the wholeness of the psyche and the world, he argued that 3 is divine, but incomplete. 4 is wholeness. So the psyche is grounded in the world with 4. So the Trinity is 3, and you have spirit, the abstract, the masculine, the Father, Son, Spirit, heaven, thought, etc. With 4, the quaternity, you have spirit joined to matter, and this includes the feminine, the earth, the shadow, the unconscious, and then you have heaven and earth, and you have thought and body and emotion and soul, and those are the 4. So the 4 functions of consciousness: thinking, feeling, sensation, and intuition. You have the 4 directions, the 4 elements, the 4 seasons. You have the mandala, or the square, which is a symbol of the self. And you have Christ and Mary completes the Trinity. The Trinity becomes a quaternity, God-world union. And then you find the Philosopher's Stone in alchemy, of all things, the 4-in-1 union of opposites. Now, the book of Revelation not only repeats Ezekiel's vision of the 4 living creatures, it intensifies and universalizes the symbolism into a cosmic liturgy. So Revelation then is an essential bridge between Ezekiel's prophetic vision, between Christian eschatology and Grail symbolism, and even Tolkien's mythology. You add Revelation to this 4-fold lineage, and what do you get? Plato, the 4 elements forming the world's soul. The cosmos is structured by number, harmony, and geometry. In Ezekiel, you get 4 living creatures: man, lion, ox, eagle, around the divine throne. What this means, this is creation as the chariot of God, the world as a moving temple, right? In Revelation, you get the same 4 creatures, but now they're in heaven. And they're singing, holy, holy, holy before the Lamb. So this is the cosmic worship, the Creator. This is the final transfiguration of creation itself. And in Jung, you have the quaternity, the mandala, the self, the 4 functions: thinking, feeling, sensation, and intuition. And this is the psychological and the spiritual wholeness, which is the union of spirit with matter. With the Grail tradition, you have the four hallows, the cup, the spear, the sword, and the stone. And this is the idea is healing the wounded king so that we can restore the four quarters of the land. So we heal the wasteland. Campbell talked about that in his Power of Myth. And with Tolkien, we get four farthings of the Shire, we get four hobbits, four ages. And this is the wholeness of the created world, and it's sanctified. This is the whole idea. Ordinariness, the earth as the center of myth, is what we're seeing here. It's very interesting. And then Ezekiel and Revelation also has a lot of similarities. I've talked about that. And then there are some stunning parallels, amazingly enough, with Revelation and J.R.R. Tolkien that I'd like to share with you. In Revelation, the New Jerusalem is four square. There's four walls and 12 foundations, 3 times 4. In Tolkien, we have the Shire's four farthings bounded by 4 rivers and roads. So in Revelation, we have 4 living creatures and elders and the Lamb and the cosmic throne. In Tolkien, we get Elrond's council of 3 peoples, elves, men, dwarves, and hobbits, the ring bearer as a lamb-like figure. In the book of Revelation, we get the book sealed with 7 seals, opened by one worthy figure. In Tolkien, we get the one ring, only destroyed by one willing to sacrifice. Frodo is the wounded king and bearer. In the Revelation, we have 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. In the Tolkien material, we have 4 hobbits leaving the Shire. It is unleashing downfall of the old world and the renewal of the king, Aragorn. In the book of Revelation, we have the tree of life besides a river in the New Jerusalem. In Tolkien, we get the white tree of Gondor, the party tree in Hobbiton, Telperion and Laurelin, the healing of Arda. So why is 4 so powerful here? 3 and 4 is 7 completion, a cosmic order. 3 times 4 is 12. We have 12 tribes, 12 apostles, 12 months. It's all sewn together in one because heaven and earth meet here. That's what it's telling us. Tolkien writes the same mystery, but he uses hobbits and pipe smoke. Right? Tolkien knew that the Shire was a mandala. It's a microcosm of Arda with 4 farthings. He knew the 4 hobbits was the earthly soul of the fellowship. He knew the 4 dwarf fathers, the 4 rivers of Gondor, the 4 compass realms of the elves, even the 4 great tales of the Silmarillion mirror the Grail narrative cycle. It's beautiful to me. 4 is not a number. It is a structure of belonging in the world. It is the meeting point of heaven and earth, vision and material, psyche and cosmos. Plato gives it mathematical form. Ezekiel gives it symbolic vision. Jung gives it psychological depth. The Grail gives it mythical healing. And Tolkien gives it story and soil and hobbits. What the 12 do in each tradition, this is interesting too when we stop and analyze and try to assess what is the meaning of this particular story or mythology here. What can we extract from this that makes sense for us? With Enoch, the 12 teach time. the soul learns to keep the feast of creation. In other words, the right rhythms, right? In Revelation, the 12 redeemed time. The city is a temple calendar made of light. In the Grail and Arthur romance, the 12 test the heart. The night must become the right note. In Shakespeare, the 12 are felt as a return to key. The stage retunes the audience toward mercy, which opens the gate. So there are practical esoteric readings here. What does it mean for us? From outer wheel to inner center. This is kind of the direction we need to move. We have to go from the outer edge of the wheel into the inner center to the very center where the Holy Grail is, because it is the still point. Enoch counts the heavens. Revelation builds the measured city. Arthur rides the circuit. Prospero dissolves the storm. And each ends at the same still point. The gate opens when virtue and vision coincide. So we have this contest between strength versus purity. Hercules conquers the Zodiac from outside. We have this idea of forgiveness. Revelation crowns it by love made law. We can hear the chord in Enoch. We have the right timing. In Revelation, we have the right measuring. With Arthur, we have the right vowing. With Shakespeare, we have the right feeling. And all four of these are tuning modes to the same music. And so this is how when we begin to integrate the stories together, this is what we comes up with. See, what Enoch mapped in the sky, the book of Revelation set in gold and stone, the actual New Jerusalem, the city itself, on the same typology and symbolism. This is what Arthur rides as a ring of trials. This is what Shakespeare sings as a circle of mercy. All four of us bring us the same door. The gate of heaven opens when the soul is in tune. This is the theme. Now, John Michel's book, The 12 Tribe Nations, Sacred Number in the Golden Age, is remarkable for Plato's Amphictyony. It has a cosmological scheme of number and proportion and music. And he had a specific number of 5,040. And this was the number of citizens in the state he offered up as the ideal. And it was to have a foundation of 12 tribes. So the entire country itself was divided into 12 sectors of 12 radial lines. So what we're seeing here is a mathematically coded, built system on the number of 5,040 and 12. And the initiates passed through 12 ordeals. And they knew of the 12-episode career of Gilgamesh. It was said to be an imitation of the cosmos. Now, are there any 12 connections with the megalithic stone circles around the world also? This is where my mind goes. I'm going, no, wait a minute. This is interesting. The whole countryside is divided in 12 circles. How about all of those stone circles, Stonehenge, and all of those, So Plato's ideal state involves 12 tribes arranged in a sacred center. This mirrors the zodiac in the sky above, of course, right? That's what they're doing. They're mirroring the heavens. It also mirrors Enoch's heavenly gates that we've heard so much about. It's so many ancient megalithic stone circles around the world also encode the number 12. And this, we can't help it. This makes them appear cosmological, astronomical, and ritualistic. So let's take a look at this. Plato's laws describe a confederation of 12 tribes united around a center. There's Arthur's Round Table on a country large scale, right? That was explicitly modeled on the cosmos. So the megalithic stone circles, the Drombeg stone circle in Ireland. Now, what it does, it has 13 stones, but one is deliberately missing. So it's forming a cosmic 12 plus a hidden center is what it's doing. At Castlerig in Cumbria, England, it has 38 stones, but that's arranged to mark 12 lunar months, the solstices, and the cross quarters. At Swinside in Sunkenkirk in Cumbria, there's 55 stones, but this is oriented to encode 12 solar months across different sight lines. Some scholars, Alexander Thom and John Michel, suggest 12 station stones with Stonehenge in the earliest phase in England, and these are also marking the lunar and the solar cycles. In the Isle of Lewis in Scotland, we have the Callanish stones. They are a central circle, and they have 12 outer spokes resembling a zodiac wheel. In Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, and this goes way back, 10,000 BC, man, you have a 12 pillars around a central axis, pillar 12 around two central axis mundi stones. And in Nabta Playa, this is in Egypt, this is also prehistoric, there's a stone circle aligned to Orion and the solstices, and it's likely marking 12-month lunar cycles. And then finally, you have Chaco Canyon in New Mexico, the sun dagger. It's not a circle, but it is 12 based because it has 12 sunlight markers for the solstices and the equinoxes projected on spiral carvings, which is extremely interesting. So what does 12 mean in the megalithic myths? 12 isn't random. Here's what it encodes: the 12 months of the solar year, the 12 major lunar cycles, the lunations per year, the 12 stations of the sun along the horizontal between the solstices and the equinoxes, the 12 spokes of the cosmic wheel, the zodiac, and the 12 gods or spirits governing fate and time. So, just like at Plato's cosmic state, a stone circle is a map of heaven on earth. Why circles? Why stones? For a very simple and effective reason. Because stone is time made solid. A stone circle mirrors the round dome of the sky. It marks solar and lunar risings. It's the calendar in stone. It becomes a ritual theater where the tribes reenact the cosmic order. It acts as a gate of heaven, a place where sky meets earth. Stonehenge especially, it was both a calendar and a temple. Just like Enoch's heavenly book of luminaries described the gates of the sun. So how does this all tie back to Enoch and Plato and the Holy Grail? The 12-part cosmic world is the 12 sun gates, the 12 tribes, the 12 land divisions, the 12 knights of the round table, and the 12 stones and 12 alignments. It's all the way through Enoch, Plato, the Grail and Arthur, and the stone circles. The center of the world, the throne of God, the pole, the central temple, and the hearth in Plato. It's Arthur's throne and Grail in Arthur, and it's the central pillar or altar in the stone circles. It is the gate of heaven. It's passed only by the pure in Enoch. It's only the harmonized citizens in Plato. It's only the pure knight who sees the Grail in Arthur, and it is the ritual entrance at the solstice in Stonehenge. So the purpose is to align earth to heaven. It's in Plato, it's to align the state to the cosmos. In the Grail, it's to align the soul to the Grail. And in the stone circles, it's to align the community to the stars. So Plato's 12-tribe cosmic state mirrors the same sacred astronomy found in the megalithic circles. And many megalithic sites around the world use the number 12 to encode sky cycles. These are the earthly imitations of the cosmic wheel, the Zodiac, the 12 months, the heavenly throne, and absolutely, this is the same structure behind Enoch and Arthur and Revelation and the Grail and Hercules and Shakespeare's cosmic drama and Tolkien. That is breathtaking. That just blows my mind. If you're not shocked, you haven't been paying attention. That's astonishing. So in the deepest esoteric traditions of our Grail cycle, especially in the works of Wolfram von Eschenbach and Cretin de Troyes, later mystics, the Grail is not simply a chalice, it's the cosmic axis. It is the still point around which the heavens turn. So it's located at the pole then, that would make sense. And this means, now here's the consequence of the Grail being located at the pole of heaven. So what is the Grail castle and where is it? In the myth, it's located at the pole. Corbinic, Montsalvat, Munchausen is always described as invisible to the unworthy. It's located at the center of the world. It's surrounded by a circular wall or a perimeter like the Zodiac around the pole. It's only reachable by a straight path through wilderness. There's your axis mundi. This is classical axis mundi symbolism. This is the same thing in Eden, Mount Zion, Mount Meru in Hindu, Olympus, Yggdrasil's root and crown, the polis from which pole star gets its name. The Grail is the pole star, is the gate of heaven. That's amazing. That's astonishing. The New Jerusalem, the perfect four-square city, aligned to four cardinal points with the what? The throne of God in the center. That's the Grail. It's in the center. It is the still point that is not moving, the throne of God. It's the same imagery. That's amazing. That's fantastic. Only the pure in heart. Now, in Cretin de Troyes, I've got to share this too. Only the pure in heart can ask the right question to open the way to the Grail. And see, this is very similar to the Enoch's secret names and gates, isn't it? So I think that's quite remarkably interesting. This is the place where time stops. In other words, eternity is here. If time stops, that means it's eternity. All stars revolve, but one of them remains still. Yeah. The soul realigns with the divine order at this still point. That's why we're looking for it. Because once you align yourself with the divine order, you can stay there as long as you want. And this is what helps make kingship legitimate, right? That's why Arthur and Christ and Melchizedek all aligned the cosmos. Yeah. Christ became the axis mundi. That's what the cross was. He became one with it, and he sacrificed himself, and then he was brought back to show us where the still point is. It's very interesting. Matter becomes transparent to spirit. That's the idea. The Qumran community had their sacred 12 in their community with the leadership of 12 men and 3 high priests. And they were the remnant of the 12 tribe divisions. And they had 12 sanctuaries, 12 heavenly sanctuaries, one for each month and one for each zodiac. The temple scroll, the 11 QT, and the cosmic temple of the Dead Sea Scrolls, it was the longest one, preserved by Yigal-Yadin. It talks about the heavenly measured new temple that was going to be built, and it is surrounded by 3 concentric courtyards like sacred rings expanding outward. Each ring corresponds to increased holiness, which is mirroring heaven. And in the Dead Sea Scroll, temple scroll, around the outer court, the land was to be divided for the 12 tribes of Israel. The camp around the temple reflects the order of Numbers 2. 12 tribes arranged around the sanctuary of God, symbolizing both the cosmic order and the heavenly geometry. It's not just an architectural plan for a building at all. This is a map of the universe. It's a temple that equals the cosmos, just like Ezekiel 40 to 48 and Revelation 21 and 22 talk about with their new Jerusalem and new temple. This earthly temple was to be a physical mirror of the heavenly Jerusalem. That's the whole point. And we are the earthly reflection of the heavenly man that Enoch saw. It's not just buildings that are reflected, it's also us as people. That is fantastic. That is especially interesting. So yes, the new temple envisioned by the Essenes and the new Jerusalem of the book of Revelations are both part of the same ancient cosmic architecture rooted in 12, which is the order of heaven. Beautiful fit, man. So the 12th pattern is the Zodiac, it's the tribes, it's the apostles, it's the Grail Knights, it's Enoch's gates, etc. This is absolutely amazing. It's Qumran's 12 plus 3 council. It's Arthur's 12 knights at the round table. It's Hercules' 12 labors. It's the stone megalithic circles with their 12 divisions. It's Plato's Amphictyony. And that actually forms a crucial philosophical bridge between the cosmic 12-fold temple of the ancient world and the later Jewish, Christian, Arthurian, and apocalyptic visions like the Qumran temple scroll and the Revelation's New Jerusalem. It's all the same thing. And it's absolutely magnificent. We now see this. This is fantastic. So I do believe that's pretty close to sharing everything that I found on this. I'm going to start repeating myself if I'm not careful, which I have to be because I don't want to bore you. Oh, here we go. Okay, so yeah, we know that Plato fully belongs in this cosmic 12 tradition. Let me share something here with you that is really kind of cool. Second to the last page. Okay. In Plato's laws, we have the 12 tribes in Amphictyony. the sacred hearth, the cosmic pole. At Qumran, we have the 12 leaders and 3 priests, the temple, and the future Zion. In the temple scroll, in the Dead Sea Scrolls, we have the 12 tribal land divisions and the Holy of Holies. In the book of Revelation, we have the 12 gates and the 12 foundations with the 12 stones and the throne of God and the Lamb. In the Arthurian Grail, we have the 12 knights around the table with the Grail, the stone, and the heavenly pole. And in Enoch, we have the 12 solar gates and the throne at the pole of heaven. Now, each one of these is not merely symbolic, but it's a cosmic map. It is a way of aligning the earthly community to the celestial order so that the gate of heaven can open. And that gate of heaven, which is the kingdom of God, is within you. I just had to close on that note. There's your hint. So thanks for watching the Backyard Professor Esoteric series. I'm enjoying doing this with you. I am grateful that you are getting something out of it and enjoying yourselves with this. I've got boatloads more that I will share with you as I find the time. And I hope you guys have a fantastic day and evening and night and weekend and week next week and year next year and life this life and eternal life in the life to come. Now, look, I can't include much more than that. That's pretty much the whole thing, isn't it? I'll talk to you soon.